Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Okay, today I want to talk about true woodcraft, mastering the skills, not the gear. Ever wonder if all that expensive gear makes us a master woodsman? The true secret to thriving in the woods ain't sold in stores. Stop buying gear. Mastering the fundamental skills define a master woodsman from a well-equipped gear collector. Think about walking into the wilderness situation with confidence, regardless what's in your pack. This isn't about collecting gear. It's about cutting skills, fire skills, navigation skills. Those are the skills. Modern marketing often pushes the idea more gear equals more capability, creating a false sense of being prepared. The true essence of woodcraft is a little bit different. The true essence of woodcraft is observation, looking at your environment, adaptation, taking what you've got to do the skill or the job you need, taking the resources that you see to turn it into what you need. It's the mindset rather than the gear set. Now I know this sounds kind of like, whoa, Blackie, where are you going with this? You know, many channels sell you gear. I sell haversacks, rucksacks, and things like that. And I really do believe in that piece of gear. But it doesn't automatically make you a better skilled person. What it gives you is a better piece of gear that more suits the skill set of a woodsman. But you gotta have the skills. You got to do the dirty work. I'm sorry, you can't just go poof and have it. And buying piles of gear is not going to give you the skills. You need to focus in and do the skills. The art of improvisation, of doing with what I got what I would like to do. Now, for example, a canteen cup, okay, out of a cook set, canteen cup. How you can practice the skills at home to learn the skills before you go to the field. Here's a challenge for you. I challenge you to cook, let's say breakfast, in your canteen cup for an entire week. Do it at home. Do it on the stove. You want bacon and eggs? It can be done in a canteen cup. Go look at my Mastering the Canteen Cup series and you'll get ideas of how to do that. How about you do cereal one day? Hey, that's easy. Cereal, milk. That's not a great skill, right? How about you do bacon and eggs in one? How about you do an egg and potato chip omelet? It tastes like hash browns. How about you do some sort of oatmeal or some sort of other type thing in it? It doesn't have to be complicated, but what you're doing is you're practicing using that container and learning the limitations and the strengths of that container. Rather than just buying it, looking at it, and put it on a shelf, use it. Get skills with it. See, so that when you do go to the field, you already know how to do this stuff in that canteen cup. I have a follower of mine that she lives in a big city, and her husband do enjoy the outdoors and nature, and they do like to go out and camp, but she's learning. He comes from a background of being a woodsman. He grew up in Kentucky on a coal miner's place, and so he has a lot of outdoor skills. She was a city girl from the ground up, and so what she does is she focuses on a skill. Now, one of the things that she did for that was she took and got her a knife that she found at a thrift store. Nothing really fancy, just a knife that would serve as a woodcraft knife. She then, because of her skills before this, she made candles. Okay, and there's a type of wax that's used in candles that's really hard. Okay, She takes it and she made these like just about a 3/4 of an inch diameter, 10-inch long candles. She's got a mold for that. What did she do with these? Well, here's how she practices. In the morning, they get up and her husband goes for a run. She turns on the stuff to make breakfast. It's got to warm up, put it in the microwave, whatever. And she opens up a sheet of newspaper on top of the kitchen table, and she pulls out of the freezer one of them big candles. She keeps like 3 in there. And then she takes out her knife, and she does a tri-stick in that hard wax. And she does all the skills of the 7 knots, the pot hook, and etc. When she started, in the 30 minutes between start and her husband getting back and they're going to eat, she got maybe 3 or 4 of the notches cut before the time was over. It was taking her 8-10 minutes to do a notch properly because it was so awkward to her. By the end of a month of doing that every morning, she was doing the entire tri-stick in less than 10 minutes because she'd got the hands-on skill. Now she's doing it on that piece of paper, and those chips are coming off that hard wax. It's not the material she's cutting that's making the impact. It's the hand skill of taking the knife and actually knowing how to position it, see, that she's practicing. And whenever she's done, she folds up the corner of the paper, opens up the container and pours the wax into the container and puts the leftover piece of a candle into it. And then she remelts it when she gets enough of them and makes more of those candles to practice with. She's practiced how to stack up and do a fire lay. Just knowing how to do a log cabin fire lay, how to do a teepee fire lay, how to do a V fire, etc. She got a tub of Lincoln logs like kids had and would sit there practicing. Now, she's not burning it yet, but she's practicing knowing what to do. See, such simple actions make a difference. Whenever you're getting into doing this and learning these skills, focus on some skills. Now, if you're wanting to learn primitive fire, hand drill, bow drill, etc., I recommend the David West channel. He's not a Woodscraft person. He's a primitive fire enthusiast, as he says. And so all he does is build fires with bow drill, hand drill, all kinds of techniques, different kinds of woods. He used woods in that I wouldn't think you could make a bow drill set out of, but he showed what it took to do it, how much effort it was going to take, how hard was it, what to do whenever it wasn't working. He had invested the time in the skill, see. And so you can learn from that by watching, and then you got to do the physical skill itself yourself in order to earn it. The mentality of the true woodsman is about looking at your situation realistically, realizing what skills you have that can apply to that situation, and then working on that. Embrace the discomfort a little bit, that if you come out, you're going to be a little bit uncomfortable. You're going to be a little hot. You're going to be a little cold. You're going to be a little dirty. You're going to have bug bites. You're going to get little knocks and bruises. You're going to sit down on something, whatever. But you learn from each of those things to realize that a broader hat might be better to block the sun a little bit, or a shamal wrapped around my neck might cut that cold wind from going down around my collar better, and etc. You learn those various skills, and that makes a difference. Understanding that don't be afraid to fail, to practice this skill and fail. In fact, failure is the greatest teacher. Success teaches you nothing. Failure teaches you everything, because each time you fail, you learn, okay, why didn't that work? Fail is first attempt in learning. So if I fail at this, good. Why did I fail? That's the true power, is to know why I failed in it. Okay? Don't be so hung up in the gear. Now, like I showed you to begin with, really nice canteen set. Great stuff, right? And it really is good gear. But starting out, what's wrong with a thrift store canteen? Nothing, as long as it's a good canteen, you know. Yes, this has got more features and ability, but this don't cost but $2 at the yard sale type deal. Will it work? Will it carry water for me? Yeah. Therefore, that might be a way to go. Save money, get better skills. How about the knife? Has it got to be a real expensive knife or something? I've talked about no. You can find one, pull a paring knife out of your kitchen. If you want to practice the carving skills on something, make sure you get your wife's permission or your husband's permission, depending. A Mora knife, not expensive. This is just a garage sale old hickory butcher knife and a leather sheath for a K-bar that you can get from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Combine the two, there's your good effective field knife. No, this ain't something you baton and you beat on. You cut with it. But you know what? You'll learn. When you break it, you'll learn. If you can break it. You take and learn these skills head on. Fire. Pill bottle or something like it. Could be just a plastic pill bottle. Could be turned into a match safe. It doesn't have to be a fancy match safe like this. Lighters. Lighters are cheap and everywhere. Building a fire with a lighter is no shame. Don't think, well, you know, you guys, y'all do it with a ferro rod and everything else. Yeah, practice it. Find a way to practice. One of my students, who again doesn't live out where they've got a lot of wilderness, so they want to practice a skill at home because when they get the chance to go, they want to have a working knowledge. So they got the barbecue grill, and they walk around their housing area where, you know, you got like a trail, like a little park type deal, and they pick up small limbs and stuff like that, gather up tenders and stuff, and come back, and they just open up the barbecue grill. In the bottom of the barbecue grill, they try building a fire, learning how to do it, shaving off pieces of fat wood that they found, and practice making the fire with a ferro rod, with a lighter, with matches. Practice that skill. That doesn't seem fancy and glorious, but it actually does work. Back to the knife. How about just a big pocket knife? You know? You can do tri-sticks and everything else with just a pocket knife. The old Swiss Army knife, you know, like I just showed a few moments ago. And this will segue into where to get the skills. One, pick a skill for right now. I'm going to let you in on the biggest secret out there, and I doubt the honest ones will tell you, but most of the great YouTubers that's got all the glorious channels won't tell you. All of us are learning. Every one of us. I have 50 years of experience in camping, outdoor, woodscraft, and etc. I consider myself very knowledgeable, but I don't consider myself a true master because there are so many other skills I have not delved into. I know enough about wild plants that I can survive off of what I got out here for medicinal and for food needs, but I am in no way an expert that can name every plant in the forest. I know people that are. Okay, I have a good friend of mine that he's a wildlife biologist. He can look at tracks, he can look at sign, he can look at whatever, and he has infinitely more knowledge than me. But don't ask him to build a fire. He doesn't own that skill. Getting the skills, like I just mentioned that Swiss Army knife. I picked this book up at a book dump type thing where they were being sold by the pound, and it's got all kinds of tutorials on different ways to make projects with just a Swiss Army knife. This would be a great way to learn the hand skill and things like that with a Swiss Army knife at home, because not everybody can go every day out to the woods. How about things like this for plant identification, for tracks and animals? Go to the park or whatever and practice. See and try to figure it out. How about a book on various birds? You know, go look at nature programs at home where they show, you know, like passing, you know, like hiking Alabama or whatever, and they show, and try to spot animals in the thing and identify them. See, stop the video and go, okay, that looks like some sort of duck or whatever, and then figure it out. From that, you'll learn. If that's an interest of yours, go for it. And finally, with it, some sort of learning book. And there's all kinds. These old Boy Scout books, not the more modern ones, they've kind of, you know, but these old ones were intense in skills. This was written for children, you know, but it was first aid, it was all kinds of stuff, and it's amazing to me the quality of teaching in here, of how to set up tents, how to navigate, how to signal long distance, whips and lashes, all kinds of stuff. I learned from these with all my experience. When I picked up this book off of eBay for I think $7, you know, I found probably 24 things in here I didn't know that allowed me to take my skills and try this out and find out if I knew more with this. Improve my knowledge. The ultimate thing is, gear is not going to make you the woodsman. Skill sets are. Excuse the aircraft. So you have to figure out. Now, as I said a while ago, let me challenge you. Pick a skill. Whatever skill you're interested in. How about a skill you're a little intimidated by? That's the good one, because that's the one you don't think you really understand. You don't think, I don't know. Good. If I remember one quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, the First Lady, she said, do something every day that scares the cockeye out of you. Try it. Worst you can do is what? Fail. First attempt in learning. Fail again. Fail better this time. Figure out what caused me to fail, eliminate that, and see if I can do a little bit better. Can I go a little bit farther? Can I do a little bit more before I fail? Each of those little steps makes the difference. And don't beat yourself up. Don't take yourself so seriously, because we're all learning. Every one of the big names you see out there, we're all learning. Every one of us. And so I've got 50 years experience, and I will tell you in a heartbeat, I am still a student. I still learn from watching videos and then saying, hey, that looks pretty good. Let me go try that out. Let me see. And I have improved my skills. I admit my strengths and my weaknesses. I can survive with the knowledge in my environment of the wild plants, medicinal and edible. But I am not confident enough to teach a class on it because I have not got a depth of knowledge in it. See, you have to admit what your strengths are and admit what your weaknesses are. Work on your weaknesses. Work on improvement. What is the skill you want to learn? What is the skill you think you need? Taking big classes can be a great thing, but you need to have a basis before you go. Classes indicate that, let's say you go to X school over here, and they're charging you quite a substantial amount of money because they've got instructors to pay and etc. They've got a whatever. And that means that they have to have an overhead, and they got to charge you for this. If you come in the door and you have never used a ferrule rod before, where everybody else in the class has already been using one and has got a good working knowledge of it, that puts you behind the 8 ball. Practice the skills at home. Go look at my videos. Go look at other people's videos. Get the books. Get the gear that you need to practice the skill. Don't invest a lot of money. When you get the skills, you'll know what you really need. When you get the skill that you realize, that haversack by Blackie would be better than what I got, it would give me this. You see the possibilities then. It's more focused to what you need. Or this canteen set, or this sleeping bag, or whatever. Then you're making an educated purchase, not just a gear collection. And that is ultimately the goal, isn't it? For you to be up here and in here, a master woodsman. Hope you've enjoyed this, guys. If you have, please hit that like, share, and subscribe, and there'll be more videos coming up. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.